So now we learn something very powerful. We learn that there is a Maila in the letters of Tefillah, even over the intention of Tefillah, which we have to have. The Tefillah has to be alive. We have to be present in our Tefillah. But there's unique power to the letters of Tefillah, that the letters of Tefillah take all these intentions, all these feelings, all the ideas that we have, take us all the way into Kesser, from where a new Rason can be created. Good evening. Tonight is the eve of the 4th of Teves, Dalet Teves, and we are back in the Maimar of Hanukkah, bringing the Ner Hanukkah into the month of Teves, and dealing with fundamental aspects of Yiddishkeit and the service that we have here in this world in terms of what we need to accomplish in terms of Hashem's vision. And just to give a kitzur, we are, let me see how back to go. Bottom line is, after we learned that the way the world was created is for Malchus, in terms of the matter, the Chomer of the world, that it is created in such a way that it feels itself separate from its source, and the surah of the world comes from Ratzon, and the reason is because there is a purpose for this creation, and the purpose of this creation, as we learned, is that through the surah of the world, really, and through the work of Torah and Mitzvahs, Bnei Israel will remove the Yeshus, the ego aspect of the world, through revealing the presence of Hashem, the glory of Hashem, down here in this physical world, just as it is revealed in a higher world. How do we get there? Through the contemplation and reflection and meditation on the fact that Ani Havai Lo Shanisi, and Hashem is present lemata just as he is present lemaila. And for Hashem, from his perspective, there is no metzius of yesh. It's only from our perspective. However, we learned that the tzura, which is connected to the chefetz, kol asher chafetz havaye asa, so that Hashem brought the reality of Havaya down here in Olam Ha'asiyah, which means that we are not confined and imprisoned in the prison of this limited, finite world, and we are not in prison in laws of nature. Rather, Shem Havaya overpowers the Shem Elokim, the name of Elokim, and it is within the capacity of every Jewish soul to experience the presence of Hashem, and therefore the power to reveal that in one's soul and in the world itself, which is not so easy for a non-Jewish soul, because their experience is Azab Hashem Esa'aretz. In any case, that the world runs to the name of Elokim only. That's the experience of their soul. In order to achieve this goal of revealing the glory and the presence of Hashem in this world, we are required to engage in two types and two stages of avoida. One is transforming bitterness to sweetness, and the other is to transforming darkness to light. The first stage is ha'ala milamata lemaila, is elevating from below up, and that's represented by the transforming the bitter taste to sweet taste. The bitterness represents any passions, attachments, and desires, or engaging in desires for this physical world. It's called bitterness, because any activity that is generated just for the sake of oneself, to enjoy the world just for the sake of worldly pleasure, that activity would draw its energy from kripa, from ungodly forces. So our avoida is to refine ourselves and elevate ourselves higher and higher. So we transform, we redirect the attachments and the passions and the engagements in all kinds of worldly desires. We train ourselves to find our pleasure in divine, holy desires, in desires that are connected to divine matters. This is the inyan of changing the bitterness to sweetness. Then comes the second stage, according to the words of the Zohar, and this is ishapcha chashucha lenehoira, to transform darkness to light. That means milemala lemata, from above down, bringing down Or and Sof. After refining the below, now the below becomes a keli into which we can bring down the unlimited divine energy that is not restricted just to the laws of nature and the limitation of the finite world. So now, instead of the choshech of this world, the darkness of this world that covers up the presence of God, it is through the avoida of Yidden to bring godliness and to reveal it into this world. But we see that according to the pasuk, that first comes Ner Mitzvah, the Ner of Mitzvah, and then comes the Torah Ohr. So first comes the inyan of the performance of mitzvahs, the refinement from below, and then comes Hamshacha of Torah Ohr from up down. Now, in order to understand that deeper, now we begin a more subtler kind of discussion, more abstract, and that is to understand the idea of oisios. And the first thing that the Rebbe will, after explaining what oisios are and from where they are rooted, the Rebbe first will teach us the enormous virtue of the letters of Tefillah, that with the letters of Tefillah, when they are elevated to their source, which is in Keser, they can change the will of God, and that's the nature of Tefillah, that through Tefillah we create a new will, we get to Keser, where Keser is the will of God, and after that we will learn about the virtue of the Oisios HaTorah. And that will, after that, will bring all the Maimar together, which began with the question why we need to have the mezuzah on the right side, which the mezuzah represents the Ner Mitzvah, and why we have the menorah on the left side, and the menorah represents the Or HaTorah, and one depends on the other, one is connected to the other. Now we begin to understand. But let's first have the discussion about letters. We learned about letters that even though the letters are formulated in the mouth and are revealed in the mouth, particularly through the 5 areas of the mouth with which we formulate the letters, however, they are not rooted in there and originated in the mouth. They are rooted in the soul itself. It's only that the way the letters, Oisios HaDibur, Misgale, Bepoal, in actuality, that's through the Motzaos HaPeh, the 5 uttering sources of the mouth. But it's the nefesh itself that has oisios, the nefesh of a human. Vayihi adam lenefesh chaya. So in Bereshis, the Torah describes the creation of man, then man became a living soul, and Onkelos translates leruach memalela, to a talking spirit, that the korach hadibur, the power of speech in human, is rooted in the chaya, in chokhmah, and even higher. Really, it's revealed in chokhmah, but really rooted in keser, even higher than chokhmah, higher than Havana in a saga, higher than understanding. And now the Rebbe will go into a detailed discussion, a beautiful spiritual discussion about oisios, that will definitely open some kind of a port, like a portal entrance to the world of the mystery of letters, that it's so important to pronounce letters and to understand the chashibus of letters, that they carry in them an aspect of divinity that even the concepts of the Torah themselves cannot carry, as we will learn. So now let's go to page Membeis, the left side, in Parshas Miketz, 9 lines from the top, ish va'ish kilshono, uvaze yuvan. Now the Rebbe will describe, the Alter Rebbe, and the shir is Le'ilui Nishmas Maras Orna Bas Reb Chaim Alei Shalom, that the Rebbe will describe the avoida of Malach Matat. Malach Matat is usually sometimes described as the Malach of Bria, sometimes the Sira. Here is Malach of Bria, the high Malach, high angel, that he makes crowns from the words, crowns to God. He creates crowns to God, to be placed on God's head, so to speak, made from the tefillos, from the oisios, from the letters, from the words of davening of the Jewish people. And now the Rebbe will explain how powerful and potent the letters of tefillah are, based on what we learned in the previous parak, that the shoresh of the oisios is in the nefesh itself. The root of the letters are in the nefesh, in the soul itself. So, ובזה יובן עניין מאמר רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, שמתת קושר קשרים לקונו מתפילותיהם של ישראל. So Chazal say in Masechet Brachos that Matat, the angel Matat, attaches or creates crowns to God from the tefillos, from the prayers of the children of Israel. So we need to understand what is this making crowns from the words of tefillos, and why do we need angels to make these crowns, and why our tefillos do not become crowns by themselves. כי הנה המלאכים מעלים התפילות. The angels bring up, they elevate our davenings, our prayers. שלפי שדיבור האדם הוא גשמי, והמלאכים הם רוחניים. שהדיבור שלהם הוא כמו מחשבה שלנו. Since the speech of men is gashmi, our speech is a physical speech, and the malachim are spiritual. Their speech is like our thought. Our thought is more spiritual, obviously, than our speech. Speech is made out of breath, physical breath. So the speech of the Malachim is like our thought. ועל ידי המלאך המקבל התפילה, and through the Malachim that receive these tefillos, our tefillos that are very physical, the Malachim have the ability to elevate and refine our tefillos from their Gashmius aspect and turn them over to spiritual. These, the Malachim, the spiritual beings of these angels can do that. So even that the dibur, the conversation between the Malachim, as we say before Shema, Bekara ze ze, they call each other. Their speech, the way they communicate with each other is like our mashava. It's like our thought. And therefore it's the ability of the Malach to refine our oisios atfila and to transform them from physicality to spirituality. And this is what it means that the Malachim are elevating the tfilos. They are refining them. Vehine, now this is done, gavoa me'al gavoa, higher and higher, gradually going higher and higher and higher, ad olam ha'elyon shebo mishkan matat. So there are many levels of Malachim, of spiritual entities, gavoa me'al gavoa. And so the oisios of tefillah are being refined and refined and refined and elevated higher and higher through the Malachim in each world and in each level of consciousness until the highest of worlds, of the spiritual worlds, where the Malach Matat dwells, the angel of Matat dwells. However, we see that the angel Matat has a higher job here. The other Malachim, the lower ones, their job is to refine our words of davening, to refine them, making more and more and more spiritual, to remove the physical aspects from our davening. But then we have the task of Malach Matat, of the angel Matat. He makes crowns out of these words. And by the way, we'll see that words, letters are doimim, are inanimate. And they're like the doimim in our world. How do you make a crown to a king? You really take rocks. You take rocks, that the diamonds and all the precious stones that you put in the crown of the king to beautify and to put it over his head. It's all done from precious rocks. You take doimim, you take inanimate objects. Here the Rebbe doesn't discuss, but you can understand from the discussion what it means. In any case, Malach Matat is kosher ksharim, vehu Malach Matat, the angel Matat, the highest angel. After all these words of tefillah were refined, kosher ktarim, he attaches crown, he makes crowns for God out of these words. Keser, ktarim, keser, a crown, goes above the head. Shelemala min harosh u'moichin. Crown, keser, transcends the head and the brains. So the pe'ula of Matat, the action of Matat is not to refine the letters from their Gashmius aspect. They were already refined by the lower Malachim. Rather, create these crowns from the oisios. Keser indicates Or Ein Sof. Or Ein Sof, the infinite presence of God, which is transcends and higher than Chokhmah. Just as we place the crown over the head of the king, above the head of the king, so too these letters that are rooted in the essence of the soul, as we already learned, that our ability to produce letters is rooted, the ability to reveal, to communicate and to reveal ourselves through letters is a power that is so deeply rooted in the essence of the soul, that because of which our whole species is not called the thinker or the conceptualizer, it's called the talker. We are called medaber. We are not called choshev, we are not called maskil. There is a domem, inanimate, there is a tzomeach, that which grows, there is chai, that which is alive, the animals, and then there is the choshev, the thinker, or the knower, or the conceptualizer, whatever it is. No, it says a medaber. The humans are called medaber because dibur, the power of dibur, is rooted very deeply in the essence of the soul. And so too, regarding Keser. Keser represents Or and Sof, the infinite presence of God, the infinite manifestation of God, which is higher than Chokhmah. So, the shoresh of the 22 letters of the Aleph base, from which all languages are created, is in Keser, which is higher than Chokhmah. It's not contradicting what we learned before. The ability to speak, as we said before, comes from Chaya. It's really rooted in the Yechida. It comes, why I said before, Nefesh Chaya, the Chaya, Ruach Memalala, because it is from Chokhmah that these oisios are revealed. In Keser they're not revealed, they're formless, they're hidden, they're potential, but they're rooted there. And this is the depth of the idea of the angel Matat attaches crowns to his master from the tefillos, from the prayers of Israel. That means that this angel Matat now brings up the oisios to their primordial source in Keser. And that means that these letters of tefillah that were established to the Anshe HaKnesset HaGdolah, to the scholars of the Great Assembly, that formulated the Nusach HaTefillah. These are Oisios Elyonos. These are divine letters that were carefully chosen to enable to a person to invest in them and through them his mind and his heart, and to connect with Hashem. And it's the work of Malach Matat, the angel of Matat, to bring up these letters that were refined by the law of Malachim to their primordial first source and root in Keser, from where the letters of Tefillah come. Ve'al yedei zeh, why? So what do you accomplish when this Malach Matat is creating crowns, which means he reveals the root of the letters of prayer in Keser, in the infinite expression of God. What do we gain by that? Bringing the letters back to their source. ועל ידי זה ממשיך אותיות חדשות. Why do we need to bring up the letters of Tefillah all the way to their original source in Keser? Because that enables you to create new letters, new form, new giluim. כי הנה התפילה, because what is tefillah? What is davening? היא בקשת יהי רצון. It is a request of let there be the will of God, that if she is haveh b'chinas ratzon, we want to create a new will. If there was a previous will that the person, God forbid, should not be well, when we daven for the person, we are aiming to reach Keser, to create a new will from there, that this person should heal and recover. Or if a person lost his parnasa, so through our will, davening, we want to create a new will that it will open a new source of parnasa for him. Because lower than that, going from Chokhmah down, Chokhmah is the reality of logic. Logic is cause and effect. So in the reality of cause and effect that is governed by Chokhmah, there, if a person sinned, God forbid, then he would suffer. Either he would suffer with his health, or his children, or his sustenance, whatever it is. God forbid. So how do we create a new ratzon that will not follow this cause and effect, but a new will that is not programmed, so to speak, into the order of spheres from Chokhmah down? By davening. The letters of davening are being refined first, then going brought up all the way to Keser. Keser is already infinity. It's already formless. It's already above form, above limitation. And from Keser, you can create a new will. שכמו שכבר נמשך רצון העליון בחוכמה, because as the divine will comes down already to Chokhmah, הנה החוכמה מחייבת על פי התורה, אין יסורים ולא עוון. If the Ratzon of Hashem already comes down to Chokhmah, goes down to Chokhmah, then if it's Chokhmah obligates. Chokhmah is rational. Chokhmah in terms of our rational consciousness. Then al pi Torah, according to the rationale of Torah, אין יסורים ולא עוון. There are no affliction, there is no suffering without sin. If a person sins, God forbid, then God forbid he would be suffering one way or another. שהעוון גורם ייסורים חס ושלום. Because sins cause suffering, God forbid. So in order to create a Yehi Ratzon, a new will, that the person should not suffer, rather he would be, this will be replaced with a positive ashpah milamayla, whether it is health or any other need, whether it is spiritual need or physical need or whether social need, whatever it is, he has to reach higher than Chokhmah, higher than cause and effect, higher than the reality in which a decree was decreed upon him because he sinned. So he has to transcend the level of Chokhmah. Because according to the Chokhmah of Torah, to the logic of Torah, sins cause suffering. אבל על ידי התפילה, יהי רצון, but through davening, when we say let there be a will of God, your will, we create a new will, נמשך רצון העליון שלמעלה מבחינת חוכמה. That's what tefillah causes, and especially the letters of tefillah, is to bring the divine will, which is higher than Chokhmah. We exceed, we transcend Chokhmah, ושם, on the level of Keser, ושם הוא רחמים פשוטים. Is Ava Rachamim. This is pure Rachamim, unconditional compassion, infinite compassion, unconditional. What do you mean unconditional? No cause and effect. ורבו פשעיך, מה תעשה לו? There, on that level, if a person sins more, sins less, doesn't make a difference. Everything there is infinity, is not conditioned by any system of cause and effect. So in order to annul a decree, we need to awaken rachamim pshutim, which means plain compassion. It's unconditional compassion. From chokhla lemata, compassion is conditioned. But Keser is unconditional compassion. Higher than Chokhmah. And from that level, Hashem has compassion on people in spite of their sins. And this is the Chidush of Tefillah. That Tefillah awakens a new Ratzon, a new will, higher than Chokhmah. Now the Rebbe brings a little side discussion here, but connected, regarding the Maila of Tefillah, that through Tefillah we are bringing a new Ratzon, Ratzon Chadash, וזהו שאמרו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, this is what our sages of blessed memory said, כשישראל אומרים יהא שמו הגדול מבורך כולו, when we answer in Kaddish, Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Leol Maya, when Shmei Rabbah, the great name of God, His great name should be Mevorach, should be blessed, meaning brought down. Me'olam va'ad olam, from the highest world to the lowest world. So Chazal say in Maseches Brachos, כשישראל אומרים יהי שמו הגדול מבורך הוא אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך, הקדוש ברוך הוא מנענע בראשו. When we say amen יהי שמי רבה, הקדוש ברוך הוא nods with his head like this. That's what Chazal say. No, obviously Hashem doesn't have a physical head. פירוש, שמנענע וממשיך בראשו, הוא רצון העליון ברוך הוא. That means that he is nodding and bringing down berosho with his head. Here it doesn't mean what is in the head, but the skull, the head itself, means in the ratzon. The ratzon ha'elyon, which means menanea berosho, there is hamshacha, that means that Hashem leaning back and forth with his head, that means there is hamshacha from ratzon, from keser, from the divine will. How it brought down Shefa from Keser down. So this indicates the fact that when we say Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach, that the great name of God, which means Hashem's infinite expression, should be brought down into our worlds. Hashem nods his head, that means there is hamshacha from Keser Ha'elyon, from the level of crown, from infinity, which transcends Chokhmah. כי אותו מבקשים יהי שמו הגדול מבורך, שיהי ברוך ונמשך שמו הגדול, because אותו מבקשים, we ask God himself that his great name should be brought down, שיהיה ברוך ונמשך שמו הגדול, that his great name, Or and Sof, his self-authentic expression, should be brought down, not concealed, not hidden, not compromised, the way he is למעלה מבחינת השתלשלות, the way he is higher than the limitations of the worlds, שהוא גדול ומעולל מאוד, that the name of God, the infinite God's expression is great. Great means infinity, not limited. ומהולל מאוד, and very praised. And now the Rebbe goes back to the inyan of the angel Matat making crowns from the tefillos of the Jewish people. והמשך רצון העליון הזה. How is this drawing down from this divine will? How does it happen that we can draw a new will? ועל ידי העלאת אוסיוס התפילה לשורשן ומקורן. That is done through elevating the letters of davening of prayer to their source and to their root. Where? Keser Ha'elyon, the divine crown. על ידי מתת. And that is done through the angel Matat. So since the intention of davening is to create a new will from this divine will, so now we understand why Chazal say that Malach Matat is kosher ksarim, dafka from the crowns, from the tefillos of Yisrael, because Keser represents that Rason Ha'elyon, this divine will, which is higher than Chokhmah, just as crown surrounds the head, so too Keser, which is infinite, is also makif. It's not bepnimi, comes bepnimi. It cannot be confined to a keli because it's infinite. So it's makif. It's like a keser. And through the angel Matat elevating the oisios of prayer to their source or to their root in the madrega of keser, which is the divine, the supreme will, we accomplish the inyan of Yehi Ratzon, that there should be a new will. So from here, there is a great chidush that we learned that the Alter Rebbe is teaching us here. something very unique regarding davening, regarding prayer. That there is a mila, that there is a power, that there is a virtue, that there is a special, unique quality and power and potency in the dibur tefillah, in the saying of the words of davening, the saying of the letters of davening, of prayer, even over the kavanas tefillah, even over the intention and the feelings that we invest into the tefillah. So the Anshe HaKnesset HaGdolah, they established the Oisus Tefillah. What words? And we have to have Kabbalas Ohr. Every day we daven with the Nusach. We usually don't innovate the letters. The letters, we use the letters the way they're established by the sages. And we, out of Kabbalas Ohr, we use the same letters every day. What do we bring in? Our mind, our heart, our thoughts, our feelings, and so on. But here we learn that usually we know that the letters of tefillah are domim, they are like inanimate. So if I don't put into the letters of tefillah, they are not something alive. If I don't invest into the letters of davening, some of my mind and some of my heart, my feelings, my midos, my emotions, then it's like dead. There's my prayer is not alive. But now we learn, the Alter Rebbe is teaching us something the other way around in a way. That there is an advantage or a virtue of the letters of davening over the kavana, the intention and the feelings that we invest into the davening. והיינו, that because לפי ששורש האוסיוס הוא בקסר העליון. Because the shorish of the oisios is in the divine keser. All the concepts that we invest into the tefillah, all the kavanos, we get from chokhmah, from bina. The midos, the avas Hashem, yiras Hashem, we invest into our prayer, we get from the midos. The oisios, though, they originate higher than both, higher than midos and higher than chokhmah. In keser ha'elyon, lemala mibchinas chokhmah u'moichin. The letters are rooted higher than chokhmah and moichin and intellect. And now, till the end of this paragraph, the Rebbe will explain. So now we learn something very powerful. We learn that there is a mila in the letters of tefillah, even over the intention of tefillah, which we have to have. The tefillah has to be alive. We have to be present in our tefillah. But there's unique power to the letters of tefillah, that the letters of tefillah take all these intentions, all these feelings, all the ideas that we have, take us all the way into Keser, from where a new Rason can be created. So why the Rebbe, excuse me? If a person doesn't have kavanah and tefillah, just saying words, is it accomplishing anything? Yes. You're saying the words. Yes, but it needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work of the malachim too, to get all the way up. So yeah, we need, if as we learned before in the Tanya, if we don't have any intention, then the words are not going up much. They have to be intention too, because as we learn, the Ava Hashem and Yiras Hashem, if we have Kavanah, they are like the wings that elevate the words up. But we need the words themselves, because the words, and therefore Chazal are emphasizing so much that the davening has to do with dibur. Not enough that you think. You can think about God. Why have to speak? He can read your mind. It's okay. You don't have to speak in order for him to know what you think. But Chazal say that you're not yoitze davening if you're not speaking. And so too in learning Torah. Because the oisios have a powerful shorish in Keser, higher than what you can think and higher than what you can feel.
So learning Torah also, because let's say now I'm learning, but I'm not saying anything.
Yes. You have to learn Torah b'dibur. then you do the mitzvah of learning Torah. If you don't say the words, you're not yotze the mitzvah of learning Torah. You can understand your mitzvah of understanding Torah, yes, but the mitzvah of learning Torah, no. You have to talk. Now, why we said we learned before, as Unkelus says that Hashem created nefesh chaya, blew a nefesh, a soul, living soul into man, into Adam's body. He became ruach memalala, and Unkelus says nefesh chaya is ruach memalala, and we said that memalala means to speak is connected with the chaya. Chaya is chokhmah, and now he says that the oisios are really coming from keser. Keser is higher than chaya. Keser should be yechida. Chaya is chokhmah. So now the Rebbe is answering that. I knew you wouldn't be able to sleep the whole Chanukah because of that. So now the Rebbe is answering. Ela shereishis hagilui hi bechokma. The beginning of the revelation of letters is in Chokhmah. In Keser there is no letters, there's no languages, there's not letters. That comes later. But in Etzem HaNefesh there are no physical oisios, but there are. But it's a potential for 22 kind of hamshachos, 22 kinds of channels of revelation. That's what the 22 letters are. That comes from Or and Sof. So the Rebbe is explaining why it's connect. Why you saying now it's Keser before you said it's Chokhmah? Ela shereshish hagilui b'Chokhmah. The beginning of the revelation of Keser, not the source. The revelation is in Chokhmah. Beginning of the revelation is Chokhmah. Where is the end of the revelation? If the beginning of the revelation in Chokhmah, where is the end of the revelation? Anybody has an idea? Keser, the letters are not revealed yet. Chokhmah is the beginning of the revelation of the Chokhmah, of the letters. Where is the end?
We said Keser, no?
The end, not the beginning.
Oh.
Is in the mouth. That's what you end up saying, creating the letters. It ends up in the mouth, and it ends up in the thought. And the thought is done, a thought and after that in the mouth, thought and then in the mouth. In thought and the mouth, the levushim, each one already can think in their own language. It becomes more and more materialized and more concrete, and then you have the different languages. But it begins, Reishis Hagilui b'Chokhmah. So, what we explained before, that the shorosh of the oisios in the Chokhmah, that means the Rebbe says, Reishis Gilui HaOisios. But their original source, the hidden source, is in Keser, in crown. So, we really have 3 levels of oisios. In the oisios we have 3 levels. We have the oisios bepoal, the actual letters. They are revealed as oisios of Kilshon Am Va'am. Each and every nation has its own language. It begins in thought, and then in thought, and then in dibur. That's the lowest aspect of letters. That is when it is already expressed in the mouth, beginning with the thought of in the mind of the person, and then in the mouth. Then we have the higher level. The second stage is Reishis Gilui HaOisios, the beginning of the revelation of Oisios. That's in the Chokhmah Shebanefesh. And then the third stage, the highest, is the hidden shoresh, the hidden root of the letters, which is in Keser, in the Ratzon of the Nefesh itself. שאי אפשר להשכיל ולהשיג כל דבר מושכל כי אם על ידי אויסיוס. It's not possible to conceptualize and understand any concept unless we have oisios. Oisios are the tools with which we they are like the tools, the vessels, the garment which contains all the intellectual ideas. And without oisios, without letters, you cannot have consciousness. You cannot have consciousness of ideas. Consciousness of ideas happens with letters. So the beginning of the Gilui is in Chokhmah. אבל האוisios עצמן, but let's look at the letters themselves, ladies. האוisios עצמן אינן בחינת שכל. the letters themselves, let's say you wrote down, now you think an idea with letters, with oisios, with words. You think idea in your mind, or you say an idea, like I'm saying it now. So I'm conveying a certain idea. But the letters with which I convey the idea are not intellect. The letters that we use in order to convey ideas to ourselves or to others, they themselves are not intellect. שאי אפשר לשכל המושג להשיג עניין מהוס האויסיוס בעצמוסם. Give me another 10 minutes, more or less. Try to concentrate, because now is the deepest part of this idea here. Really, ladies, letters themselves, אי אפשר לשכל המושג, it's not possible for an intellect that tries to understand the inyan of the nature of oisios themselves. It's not within the capacity of our intellect to understand the nature of letters. It's a mysterious thing. אלא שהן לבוש השכל. What are letters? Letters are a mysterious thing. Letters are not concepts. Letters are carriers of concepts. They're not concepts. So it's not, you cannot say that the creation of letters is done in Chokhmah. Chokhmah means sechel. Chokhmah means intellect. The mahus of oisios, what oisios are, is not Chokhmah. Is not sechel at all. Because if the letters of wisdom, the letters themselves were Chokhmah, were created by Chokhmah, which is the highest faculty of the intellect, then you could say that Chokhmah, then you could say that Chokhmah creates them. But that's not the case. It's not, Chokhmah doesn't create them, because letters are not sechel. Chokhmah is sechel. Letters are not. They are only levush. They are only a garment to the concepts. Like a garment which is not made, it's not the same like the body that it covers. It is not the same nature. The garments that we wear do not have the same material of the body that they cover. And so too, the letters with which we carry and convey and concepts are not the concepts themselves, are not made out of intellect. They are like little wagons. One of the proofs for it is that you can express the same idea in different words. If the words are made of idea, then you wouldn't be able to. Every idea would have only one way of expression. No, you can garb any idea with various garments, various ways of expressing it. Why? Because the letters are not the idea, they are just a carrier. Also, you can have a baby, a little child reading a whole paragraph of letters and not understanding one concept of what he read. So really, the primordial place of letters is not in Chokhmah. And really, the oisios letters are rooted in Etzem HaNefesh. And just as we don't know really what Etzem HaNefesh is, we also don't know what really letters are. There are 22 kinds of amshachos that are expressed through 22 kinds of letters that have a certain shape, and they are originated in a very, very deep place, in a very, very mysterious place. It is a very deep koach. The koach hadibur is a very deep power and faculty that a person has. והלבוש הזה, this garment of speech, הוא מבחינת חיצוניוס עליון שירד ונתפשט למטה להלביש את השכל. So it's from the Elyon, the levush of Dibur, the Oisius. Come from the Elyon, it comes from Etzem HaNefesh, that's why it's called Elyon, from the above. But it's Chitzonius HaElyon. Since the agenda of Dibur, the agenda of letters is communication, communication means already Chitzonius. So really, Dibur and letters, the shorish of Oisios, the shorish of letters, is in the essence of the soul, higher than Sechel, higher than Chokhmah, but in the more external aspects of the essence of the soul, in the aspects of the essence of the soul that is shayach to communication. And therefore, the way they come down, they become a levush, because they come from the external aspects of the essence of the soul, but the way they manifest is a levush, that the dibur is a levush, machshava and dibur are levushim of the sechel. Umisham, from there, yored od liyos oisios machshava v'dibur. From the Elyon, from the essence of the nefesh, from the ratzon, which the ratzon of the person is the external aspect of the essence of the soul, the way the soul relates to something else, but it is the essence of the soul, the area, the zone of the essence of the soul. Then their letters are like a seed, like a potential. But Misham, from there, says the Rebbe, it goes down, od liot oisios, to become letters of machshava v'dibur, thought and speech. And as the letters come down from the original source in the essence of the soul, there are two stages. First, as we learned, is Reishis Hagilui, the beginning of the revelation of letters, which is in Chokhmah, because Chokhmah is the beginning of consciousness. That's where letters show up. The letters are very abstract. They're very elusive still. They're not yet formulated and not much yesh. It's like a garin. It's like a seed that contains all the expression that will come out of it. But then from Chokhmah, they come down to become oisios mamash in the thought of a person, and then through the speech, physical letters. So, to summarize what we learn in this part of the Maimar, that now we can understand what Rabboseinu Zichronam Lebracha teach us, that the angel Matat, the high angel of Matat, ties crowns to his master, to Hashem, from the prayers of Israel. That the inner meaning of crowns, what's the kesher of crown, the kesher to the crown lemala, which is the infinite expression of God, and that's connected to tefillah dafka, to davening. Inyan of tefillah, we learned, the inyan, the agenda of tefillah, of davening, of prayer, is to create a new will, to change a decree from not good to good. And for this, we need to reach the level of unconditional compassion, which is Keser, which is higher than Chokhmah. And from Keser, we can awake, when we reach Keser, we can awaken a new Ratzon through the Oisios of Tefillah. Because the Shorish, the root, where the Oisios come from, is Keser, that is higher than Chokhmah. And this is the Pe'ula, the effect of the Malach Matat, the angel Matat, to bring up the letters of Tefillah, after they are refined by the lower angels, to bring them back to their source in Keser, and through this, he brings, the result is that a new Ratzon is issued from the divine crown, the divine Keser, and now a person can be healed, or any lack can be provided, and so on, because the Ratzon is changed. And there's no contradiction, the Rebbe concludes, between this and what we said before, that the Koach HaDibur comes from Chokhmah, because Chokhmah is where the Oisios are beginning to be revealed. However, they are rooted in Keser. So, the mahus of osios themselves, and that's the last point that the Rebbe is making, that the nature, the mahus, the essence of letters themselves is not intellect. It is really higher. And therefore, letters of tefillah are so potent. And the malachim are working a lot to refine these letters and to prepare them to be going up back to the source. So a new ratzon and therefore new hamshacha, a new reality will come into the world. And this new reality can be a new reality of consciousness of the world, of new reality in the midst of the world, that more goodness comes into the world, more wisdom comes into the world, more unity comes into the world, more healing, more abundance, all the hamshachas that we need. All that is coming because of the letters of tefillah that are rooted in the divine infinite potential ability to mashpia anything and everything infinitely. Any comments or questions?
Now, it's Abigail. I want to thank you. What an incredible thing to ponder. It for me, I have to process it because I find it absolutely amazing, and
Yes.
I'm so grateful to you for teaching us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for thanking me. But we're just touching the mystery of letters, the potency of letters, and so too the letters of Torah. The Rebbe will go into explain that. And that all will explain to us as a result why we have first to have the refinement of Ner Mitzvah. It's like the refinement of letters, and that enables the Or Torah to come down. The Ner of a Mitzvah of the Mezuzah on the right side, and the Or Torah, which comes Milmala Lemata, represented by the menorah on the left side, to illuminate the darkness of the world. The Rebbe will explain in Yirtzeh Hashem. Next time we will learn how these letters and their potency is also applies in the Torah, not only in Tefillah. The letters of Milemala Lemata. The Tefillah are the letters Milemata Lemaila, from below up. Torah is the divine letters from up down. So we will delve into this B'ezrat Hashem next week. And then we will bring everything together and summarize the Maimar B'ezrat Hashem.